Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is 12 noon on this beautiful day. The next speaker that you will meet is Brad, and Brad and I met in February. Both of us are newly inducted board members of the Iowa Cops Association, and the Iowa Cops Association is Iowa Concerns of Police Survivors. And COPS provides resources to assist in the rebuilding of the lives of surviving families and affected coworkers of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty as determined by federal criteria. And the Iowa COPS provides training to law enforcement agencies on survivor victimization issues and educates the public of the need to provide ongoing support of the law enforcement profession and its survivors. Brad has a beautiful career, and we thank you so much, Brad, for your years of service. Brad is enjoying retirement now, but Brad, I will let you open up this time that you are spending with us, and welcome and thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sean is here with me.
Hello.
He's around the corner.
Well, hi, Sean.
Hello.
If I fall down, he's jumping in. As the day goes, first of all, thank you for asking me to come and speak to the people today. If I understand right, we've got corrections officers, we have parole officers, social workers, civilian employees of sort, and we have some first responders and probably some medics out there somewhere. If we have any officers, everybody welcome. If I forgot anybody, it happens. I'm retired. I'm allowed to do that. My biggest part years ago, as I worked for the State Patrol, I was intentionally struck by a drunk driver. And my return to work was less than desirable. And I vowed that I would never let anybody come back to work in the way that I was. Basically, it just kind of seemed that, and we all hear this, we take care of our people. And at that time, the state of Iowa's wellness was not really it was kind of an afterthought. If you were able to come back to work, put the uniform on and carry on. The only thing I'm going to read to you that I believe is really, really important is the state of Iowa. I have been in the state of Iowa's critical incident stress management or peer support system. I have been in it pretty much since the onset of it. I got involved after the motor vehicle death of Trooper Mark Toney, which would be about 13 years ago today, I believe, or around this time. With that being said, again, I'll read this. The program information is designed to assist people in highly traumatic events and provide support both for mental and emotional in the time of need. This is to try to assist those in need, us, who need it, for a faster, more normal return to work. Or sometimes it's just a little quick pick-me-up to strengthen and heal one's emotions. The overall goal is to increase the health and wellness of our people that have been affected by a critical incident. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something really, really major. It could be the loss of your friend's loved one that you knew. It could be a terrible car accident. It could be suicide, which we'll talk about later, as I also instruct suicide awareness. And basically just, I'll jump forward, don't do it. But we are the community support system for everybody, but who takes care of us? And we have to take care of us. I don't care if it's in the correctional system, if it's the HRU guys that are roaming around after dark. I say that because that's the only time the two I knew ever worked was after dark. In the city, in the county, we are all affected by this, and we never get the chance, if we don't make ourselves do it, get rid of the built-up emotions. And if we don't, eventually, it's going to boil over like the pot on the stove. The other analogy is you take all the bad that we see, and you stick it in your brain and you compartmentalize it. And you just put it in the brain, stick it to the back. Tomorrow, something else happens wrong at the industry. You put it in the brain, put it in the brain, put it in the brain. Eventually, your brain is full. Sometime, it's going to come out. And so what do we do when it comes out? When I started with the department in 1987, I was advised by my training officer, Bradley, if you take this job home with you, before you're retired, you're going to be divorced and you'll be a drunk. Well, I'm not a drunk, but I am divorced. Didn't have a whole lot to do with the job, but it probably did, and I couldn't realize it. So we have to take care of one another, and that's probably the most important thing. And Sean and I have talked about this. How do we do it? How do we do this? Are you going to? And I'm gonna pick on the warden for a minute if they're here today. If they're not, oh well. Are you going to go to the warden and say, I can't handle this anymore. I've got a problem. This guy is threatening me. What am I going to do? And he is going to say, you like your job? Get over it. Come back to work tomorrow. See you at 8 a.m. Have a good night. See ya. And they wave at you and they send you home. Are we becoming soft? No, we're not being soft. In the line of a police officer, first responder, they give you a gun and a badge. You need a box of tissues also. It's okay. From a 36-year career, if I told you I never sat by the side of the road and cried over an incident, I'd be lying to you. And I'm not going to do that. We see things, you see things, you hear things that normal people don't. We at the Department of Public Safety about twice a year sit down and we call it debrief our criminalist and our analyst, because we understood when they took that job to be a criminalist, they knew what they were getting into. When the photography department decided to be a photographer for the department, they knew what they were getting into. But did they want to see the death and dismemberment photos that we take and we send to them to develop? Probably not. So as the state, we invite them into a general debrief and just ask them to talk about anything they want to. Anything that bothers them, anything that doesn't bother them. If it's happy, hey, we like happy too. I'm definitely not here to to run everybody down and say how bad our jobs suck, because they can. But we don't want that. And we all know that in today's world, we and correction officers and parole officers, everybody hates us. I always said you should like your parole officer because he's that little glimmer that you get to see once a week, once a month, however often it is, or whenever you have contact with the police officer. And then we call them together usually, or I used to. That is a little glimmer of hope to see the real world again. But for those who are out there that are the parole officers, you understand they're not in a very good mood when they come to see you usually. So how do we deal with this? This sounds really odd in today's world because, I mean, hell, we're doing a virtual meeting today. Communication. Remember when we had to talk to one another when we went to school and we actually talked to people and we didn't go in and our kids bring home a computer and they go to the room and they're on a computer. We hope they're doing their homework. The old fundamentals. And I'm not that old. I'll say this. I'm not that old. I started really young. The reading, the writing, the arithmetic that we all learned, we still do that. But the communication skills, put a group of teenagers in the room and see if you hear complete sentences or if you hear a lot of grunts and buffering of words that you and I, we don't know, but by God, they do. So communicate. It's okay to call somebody and tell them, hey, today at work, this happened, and I just want to talk to you about it. Take 5-10 minutes, whatever. Reach out to these people and ask them for real. How are you doing? Do you feel okay? I know this was a bad deal, but how are you today? One of the biggest things that we are all guilty of at one point in time is we attend a funeral for a loved one or a close friend. And what do we say to them? Do you need anything? Can I help you in any way? If you need anything, call. If you don't communicate with people, why would you call them? Your loss is all you're thinking about. So it's time for us to be the bigger people. And this is how I explain it. When they die, we have a grieving process we go through. Everybody's different. We have the death. We have the funeral, which is a healing process. And we have usually in smaller communities down south, southern Iowa, where I'm at, there's always a lunch by the best cooks in the world because they're all our grandma's age. Ain't nobody cook like grandma. But in a week, it's okay to call back to these people and say, hey, haven't heard anything out of you. I told you to call me. You haven't done it. So I'm calling you. Now, that works in death. We don't always have to deal in death. Sometimes we can call on happy things. You only hear from people when things are going good. You never hear from people when things are going bad. You hear that all the time. I was quite honored when I received telephone calls saying that, thank you for helping my child do this. Found a young man sitting by the side of the road one night. His only way out was suicide. I told him that was not true. and to come sit back in my patrol car with me. And after about 45 minutes of sitting outside of Oskaloosa, Iowa on a lone highway, I sent the young man home. That night, about 11:30 p.m., my phone rings. It's this young child's mother. And she wanted to thank me for that. Since then, I can't go anywhere. I don't run into this kid, and he's like my best friend now. And that is okay, because me not just pulling up alongside of him and saying, hey, what are you doing, parked on my shoulder, get the hell out of here, kid. I took the time to ask him, what's up? Why are you here? So when your coworker, something negative happens and the coworker says, I just want to talk to you. Don't give him the, why the hell you want to talk to me look. Listen to him or her. Again, technology is terrible. It's terrible in the jobs that we have. I will tell you that I was part of the team of critical incident thinkers that spent a week in Anamosa after the loss of our two in Anamosa. To this day, I still have conversations with people from Anamosa. I was also back to your 1-year anniversary, and I know that we are all tougher than rock, and none of us give for anything. And somebody may have let it slip out in Anamosa that we had a pact. And the guy to the left wasn't going to say anything, and the guy to the right wasn't going to say anything. But the guy in the middle screwed up and spoke, which made the guy on the right and the guy on the left think they had to say something. That's okay. I'm good with that. This is how we do it. And very, very beneficial. And I'm very, very thankful to the Anamosa State Penitentiary for inviting our team down there. We would come back whenever we're asked. So you hear me say early on, suicide. Don't do it. 37 years in the state. And I would tell you that, I would like to tell you that we've never had. I would never be able to tell you that we've never had a state trooper not kill himself. I've lost 4 of my friends who wore the badge in the patrol to that. I have, in the last 2 years, I have attended every officer's death by gunfire, by natural causes, by suicide in the state of Iowa, to make sure that we tell people that they don't do that. It's never that bad. And if anybody out there has a question, you don't have to raise your hand, just speak up. I could have been an auctioneer before I become a state trooper, but they didn't get to wear as cool as hat. So that's why I did that. So the problem with suicide is suicides have been here forever. But your departments, our departments, have hidden the suicide totals. We cannot give you a total of persons in law enforcement killed by suicide because we have accidental discharges. We have a misfire. Regardless of what your profession is, if you ever owned a gun of any sort, you know you don't clean the gun by looking down the barrel, ever. If you do, you take the barrel off the gun and then you look down the barrel. And if it is that bad, call somebody. Goes back to communications. I know Katrina's got my number. The state of Iowa's critical incident stress management team have a peer helping team also, which if you have questions on how you get one of those started, it's not that tough. The toughest part of getting a critical incident stress management team started is finding the people that are going to buy into it. I just did a presentation for a small town department who said, we're not soft, we're old school. That I stood up and told them, I said, well, then I don't know why I'm here, because I'm old school too. And back in the day, if you thought it, you could say it, and they never said anything back to you. Nowadays, if you think, you can't say it out loud, and you can tell them that their shoes are on the wrong feet, and they want to ask you for your name, your badge number, your correctional officer number, who's your warden, I'm going to file a complaint on you, I'm going to sue you. That doesn't make it right. But where I was going with that is that we're old school in what we do. Corrections have been around forever. Law enforcement has been around forever. The HR, you guys run around in the dark. You've just been around for a short time, but I know you're out there. I don't know if the ones I know still work for you, Katrina, or not, but the problem with your suicides are, we're going to show up. We're going to show up and tell you that we will make sure that you get through this and it will be okay. And I will follow up on this. Our team will. The problem with suicide is it is a very short-term solution to a long-term problem. And the problem with the fact that if I remove myself from this world and all of my problems, my family will be better. That is an incorrect statement. Your family will remember every March 13th. Every March 13th will be a bad day. It'll be a bad week. All your neighbors won't want to talk to the family because everybody knows and everybody's afraid to talk about it, that on March 13th, so-and-so committed suicide. So it is not so bad that we can't get you help. Can we, what are we going to do, you say? What do we do? You call me and tell me you feel like killing yourself at 3 o'clock in the morning. You might want to be really prepared for someone to show up your door. It will be me as soon as I get there, but it may in the meantime be somebody else. Because I will call a person in wherever you're at, Northwest Iowa, Oskaloosa, Anamosa. If I need to be there, I'll be there, and I'll be there really shortly. Fort Madison, I know how to get there also. Anybody on here from Cherokee? That is one of the most interesting buildings I've ever been in. Just saying. You got to give something for construction. Call me. I will be there. So then what do you say? I will tell you that I will never violate your trust. Anything you tell to me as a critical incident stress management person, as a peer helper, I have the same, I am covered the same as your doctor to client. I am covered the same way as a counselor to a client, because we don't have meetings. We have counseling sessions. And that has been tried in court. I have been called to be deposed about they called it a meeting in reference to the shooting incident. I just simply advised them that yes, we did have a counseling session. It is not available for court purposes. And we did have one. And it was left at that. Back to Blue Law a few years ago really strengthened that up for us. And so whatever you say to me is in confidence. I tell nobody. Where I draw the line on that, where our team draws the line on that, is that if you are going to do something that will put you in prison, I am not going to lose my job over you threatening to kill your wife, your neighbor, whomever. So if it's that serious of an incident, what I will do is I will take you and we will talk to your supervisor and we will make sure that we have vetted people who we can get you help with. Does it mean you're going to be taken off the job for a while? Sure. But if you're not in a sound mind, regardless of your job, custodian, do you need to be at work? No. I have had very, very good luck with PTSD. And I know we have people out here that have been in the military. I never was. PTSD, the military people that I have spoke with at Camp Dodge say they are trying to get this to PTSI, which would be an incident instead of a disorder. You go to the doctor when you're 12 with a broken leg, your broken leg stays on your medical charts all your life. You go to the doctor just getting out of the service or getting out of law enforcement or corrections, and they say you've got a disorder. It's like going to the doctor with a yellow tag on your neck every time. And they'll ask you, how's your disorder? How's your disorder? Let's deal with an incident. They understand that. They're looking at that. I don't have the ability to jump on the train and make that happen, but it will. Question just came through. Can I talk about peer support? Peer support. I believe right now we have civilians, we have office staff, we have secretaries, we have dispatchers, we have troopers, we have agents and fire marshals. And now I can look at y'all and say, and now we can get some of you to join our team, maybe. I'm trying to sell that. You think that works?
You're doing great.
Okay. All right. The peer support team, you've got to get some people again who's going to listen and retain it and not tell anybody. In this case, perfect example we have, and I'm sure some people have heard about it. We had one of our very high-tech gurus for computer technology in West Des Moines a few years ago, killed his family and himself. We did debriefs in the state buildings in Des Moines for everybody that worked for him. How does that happen? My phone number, 641-660-2603. It's answered 24 hours a day. That is my personal cell number. So yes, I do take calls from your back brace, your knee brace, your warranty on your 68 Charger that nobody knows about anymore. I answer all these calls. DirecTV called me right before we started, and I didn't want to talk to them, so I hung up. I don't think they had a crisis. But the peer support people will talk to you on the phone. We can set up a virtual. The last one I got was, we also have an app in the state of Iowa. It's a Cortico app, where you dial this number and you have many different options available to you. We pass it out to everybody in the state, and we believe that everybody in the state will take their phone and they will copy it, and they will call and they will download this app to their phone. I'm looking, stand by. I'm looking for the app to show you. There's that. Scan, where'd it go? There it is. Scan that little code. It tells you how to put it in your phone. It tells you everything from weight loss tips to psychologist. Again, we have vetted everybody we send you to. If you have a question, we have vetted these people to make sure we're not sending you to the one and only joke amongst cops here. And I'm sure you all get it. By the time a police officer goes see the psychiatrist is in the corner sucking his thumb and crying, and the cop's trying to figure out how to unlock the door and get out. So we send you to people that's not like that. But you call, like I said, my number 3 o'clock in the morning, and the guy's questions to me was, pardon the language, but hey, donk, that's what they call me. Where in the fuck is this app? It's 3 in the morning. I'm like, excuse me, who is this? What did you want? I want that fucking app. What app do you want? Because I can tell you 2 or 3. And he told me which app he wanted. And I said, it should be already downloaded in your phone. But if it's not, give me a minute. I got to go downstairs. I got to find myself first. And we got this guy the help that he needed. Marital problems, financial problems. It doesn't matter. It goes back to what I said earlier, communications. We must communicate. And if you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and want to know where that app's at, I'll tell you. That sounds bad. I'll tell you how to obtain it. I won't tell you where to put it, but I'll tell you where it's at. Again, how I deal with problems, good God, when I was run over by the drunk intentionally, I had issues. I had to fight to come back to work on that. 5 years ago, I had cancer. I had to come back to work from that. Where was my peer help 5 years ago? I had to call on captains and lieutenants and troopers to take me to my radiology and my oncology appointments. Did they have to do that? No. We didn't do it in state vehicles, but they did come and get me. They didn't make me do it in a taxi cab either. So how do you set up a peer support program? You have to find people that you know will keep themselves quiet. The easiest way to say it is, we know you can talk. I was a negotiator for 20 years. We didn't jump off bridges because I'm scared of heights. That's television. The guy that got me into this, Bob Monserrat, has worked with the Red Cross. He has been to all sorts of natural disasters. He said to me, he said, hey, Donk, I know you can talk. You're a negotiator, but can you listen? Peer support is listening. In a speech, people hate when they think the room is quiet, so they have to say something. You don't. Pregnant pause in a room of people who need to talk allows other people to let something slip out. Going back to the debrief where the 4 guys weren't going to talk until number 2 screwed up and said something. We need that. I'm good with that. So does it mean you're weak? No. How do you sell a peer support program to a bunch of prison guards? I'm just gonna pick on them for a minute because I've seen them. They're all like bigger than like the Hulk. They're just not green. They're just super mean people, and they scare everybody. They took out the mirrors in their house because they're afraid to argue with the guy on the other side of it. But they're really nice people. How do you get one of those guys to have another prison guard, another prison person, correction officers, an HRU guy open up to them? Trust. Trust that you won't tell anybody. Trust that you've got their back. If you think HIPAA is a pain in law enforcement's ass, HIPAA doesn't apply in a peer support group because everything is confidential. There is no fact-finding evidence for the jury to convict. So how do you start that program? If you have a question, we can get you set up in the right direction. Any other questions for that? Because in a moment, I got Sean sitting over there, who's going to come and talk to you about cops. And I promised him I would leave him room to talk. He's a negotiator too, so there's not a lot not being said in this room. You just can't see it. But
So-
again, go ahead.
Oh, Brad, thank you so much. Within Department of Corrections, we do have staff support teams, and we're actually going to be taking a look at that policy again here pretty soon. So we do have that, but I was even thinking for, our community stakeholders that we have with us today, again, maybe they have peer support, staff support within their own agencies. But again, I appreciate you being with us, and I appreciate you being open to sharing your cell phone number. And even if you weren't willing to share it, I wrote it there anyway. So
It's a lot of places it probably shouldn't be, and it's not going to bother me. Call me.
Well, thank you. Are there any questions for Brad, please? All right. So my takeaway was, if you're struggling, reach out, talk with people, those that are trusted. So Brad, thank you so much. And thank you for your many years of service. And feel free to bring that little tiny baby donkey to my house.
I just put her outside this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's going to live with me.
I've got more.
Okay.
I will get Sean in just a moment.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Hello, everybody. Let's see if I can turn this thing on here. There we go. Let's see. I'm a little shorter than Brad here. I got to move the camera. There we go. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I don't know how I'm going to follow that. I should have gone first. I'll be honest. So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Sergeant Sean O'Neill. I work currently for the Des Moines Police Department, and I serve as the Vice President for the Iowa Cops Concerns of Police Survivors Iowa chapter. We are very, very happy to have Katrina on our board now, as well as Brad. We are very, very blessed to have their cooperation, and I think it's going to be a great time going forward. Before I get started, I do want to kind of explain to you guys what exactly Iowa Cops is, and let you know what we can do as far as resources and help if there's anything out there that you guys need. So Concerns of Police Survivors is a national organization that has chapters in numerous states and numerous areas. We serve on the Iowa chapter, which covers the state of Iowa, as well as some adjoining states that don't quite have chapters yet. We do our best to help out. Our primary goal is to help survivors, and that can take many roles. Survivors can be what we call direct survivors or family survivors, spouses, parents, children of law enforcement officers, correctional officers who have fallen in the line of duty. And all that is dependent on a federal criteria. And basically what our role is we are there for whatever they need, whenever they need it. We will do a funeral response. So if we are notified of an incident, the first thing we do is make sure it is okay for us to come in. And if we are invited, we respond to that agency immediately as soon as we can, and we start to help with support. I'm not sure if anybody here has been to a law enforcement funeral before. If you have, you'll know that it is quite a large scale event, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. Smaller agencies who don't experience line of duty deaths as often, can sometimes struggle with all of the moving pieces when it comes to a funeral response. Most importantly, we assign one person to the family of the fallen officer to act as a family liaison. And basically what that individual does is speaks with the family to find out what their wishes are and how we can best honor their fallen loved one. When we get to the scene, we're going to start managing road closures. We'll start managing media relations, food, everything that is possibly needed for this response to ensure that the fallen is honored properly and to the best of our ability. That is just one of the many services we provide. Iowa Cops also provides scholarships, retreats for any type of survivor who feels that they would be warranted. One of my favorite things about Iowa Cops is our entire board is made exclusively out of survivors. So on our board in the past, we have had survivors who are direct survivors, such as spouses of loved ones who have fallen on the line of duty. Myself, I qualify as a coworker survivor. So I'm not sure how many people on this call would qualify as a coworker survivor. I like to think that I hope that number is very, very low, and I hope it continues to be very, very low for years. Because if you've qualified, that means we've had a tragic event. So I qualify a little bit about how I got involved with Iowa Cops. 2016 was probably one of the worst years of my life, particularly, and for the Des Moines metro area. For those of you who are familiar with what happened during 2016, in March, we lost 2 officers to a drunk driving accident. Those are Officers Susan Farrell and Carlos Puente Morales. Both of those officers I attended the academy with, and they were very, very good friends of mine. And when this happened, I was just kind of at a loss. The best way I could say is I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I could help, what I could do to help the families, to help myself. I struggled a lot personally, and Iowa Cops stepped in to help. Just as we were getting over that hump, unfortunately, in November of that year, officers Justin Martin and Sergeant Tony Bominio were shot and killed during an ambush-style attack. Sergeant Tony Bominio was my sergeant. I was working the night it happened, and that was a very, very difficult thing for me to get over. And once again, Iowa Cops responded to help. After I had gotten myself situated and gotten myself back on track, the first thing I did was reach out to Iowa Cops and say, how can I help? And that started my involvement with this organization. I wanted everybody on this call to understand, I know that there is a lot of maybe some misunderstanding as far as the corrections side. And I'm here to tell you that you guys are absolutely no different than any other law enforcement agency out there. We are all one family. I know that there's kind of like that big brother, little brother mentality sometimes between corrections and law enforcement. We don't see that as Iowa Cops. We see you the same way we see law enforcement, sheriff's deputies, troopers, unless it's Brad, and every other agency that works in this family together. Because let's be honest, I'm a police officer, and I can tell you right now, I could not do your job, nor could my job even work without you. So this family is, and I use that, I don't use that term lightly. I know that gets tossed around a lot with, the family word. That's exactly what we are. I can't do my job without you, and none of this would work without you. So I know it says COPS. That's an acronym. I didn't come up with it, so I apologize. However, whether you're blue, green, brown, gray, whatever your line is that you put on your flag, you are covered with Iowa Cops, and we are happy to respond and help you guys in any way that we possibly can. One of the best things I'd say is that if you are a coworker if you qualify as a survivor, one of the things we can help you do is go to some of our retreats. It's one I've personally been to. I would never recommend something that I personally haven't done or personally haven't vetted myself. Me and a couple of my coworkers went to the coworkers retreat in Potosi, Missouri. And it was one of the best times of my life. I got to meet survivors from all over the country who shared their stories with me, mine with them. And I think one of the best ways we can all get over where we get stuck, and when we have a traumatic event or we have a critical incident, we get stuck somewhere. And I think one of the best ways we can do that is by talking and sharing understanding with one another. And that was a great opportunity for me to do that. So if you do qualify, if that's something you're interested in, don't hesitate to reach out to me or anybody on our board, and we can get you that information to help you out. Lastly, one of the big endeavors that Iowa Cops does is every year we do our best to get the families of fallen officers out to Washington, D.C. to watch their loved one's name inscribed on the National Wall. It is a amazing event. If you guys have never been to DC during Police Week, I encourage you, if you've got the time, please take it, go out there. It is I can't even find words to say just how impactful it is to be out there and to see the level of support that I don't think we see on a daily basis, especially in the corrections realm. As much as the cops on the street like to complain that, everybody doesn't like us or we do, I can't even imagine the level that you guys get it at. So it is amazing to go out there and see all the names on the wall, see the amount of support, not only in that city, but the people coming from all over the world, not just the United States, that come out to support our family, basically. And it's a good revitalization, is how I like to go almost every year. And I think it revitalizes me because we get to a point to where it's like, God, why are we even doing this anymore? Why show up tomorrow? Nobody cares. Nobody likes us. We're not respected anymore. And then I go out there and it's just this jolt of rejuvenation of going, okay, this is why we do this. And it helps me remember my why. And it helps me remember exactly why I got into this career field to begin with. And it is something that is, and I'm not a spiritual individual, but that's probably the best way I can put it, is it's spiritual to go out there and just to see and experience that time frame. And we feel that every family who loses an officer, who makes that ultimate sacrifice, deserves to be there when that name is inscribed on the wall forever. So we assist with that as well. We are a nonprofit organization. None of us get paid to do this. This is something that we are paying forward, as I felt I owed the organization a debt that was paid to me during 2016. So that is what our organization is. I would have, if anybody has any questions about what we do or how we can help you, don't hesitate to reach out. My email is very simple. It is Sean, SEAN, @iowacops.org. Reach out to me with anything that you guys need. I will give you my personal cell phone as well. I'm not sure if Katrina has it posted up there, but it's a strange one. Don't yell at me. I've had it since high school. It's 845-796-6229. I'm an avid peer support counselor. I kind of like the story that I hear where, and I'm going to touch a little bit on what Brad touched on here as far as trauma, going through some critical incidents and taking care of ourselves. That is one thing that I've been in law enforcement 10 years now. I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary of being in law enforcement. Getting old, the gray hair is really starting to come in now. But I will say there was something that we didn't do a very good job at the beginning. It was the suck it up, right? Suck it up generation. Suck it up, rub some dirt on it, get out there and keep pushing. Unfortunately, that's not good enough anymore. I like to say that every correction officer, police officer, parole officer, I guarantee if you guys rolled up or you saw a burning building, you guys are going to run in there and try to save somebody. So we will run into a burning building or still down the barrel of a gun for a complete stranger. And sometimes we don't even pick up the phone for each other. And that needs to stop. We need to focus on taking care of ourselves, so that this profession can continue to thrive and continue to have the courage to go into that burning building or to stare down the barrel of that gun for society that we've sworn to protect and that we've sworn to help. We need to take care of ourselves. And the most recent data that has been completed was 2009, and I may be off by one or two. My memory is starting to go. Like I said, 10 years in this job. In 2019, there were 148 officers and correction officers killed in the line of duty. Of those 148, 48 of them were feloniously. So be it attacked, ambushed, shot, stabbed, assaulted in some way. In that same year, 238 of us took our own lives. we are unfortunately killing ourselves exponentially greater than we are being killed on the street. Now, why is this important? Why are we talking doom and gloom? I'm hoping there are some administrators on this call, wardens, people who have that are in a position to make change and influence in an organization. Because I want everybody to think back to their day at the academy. And I know for Brad, that was a long time ago. And I know stuff was not in color yet, so I get it. But I want everybody to think back to think of how many hours you spent in defensive tactics. Hours upon hours upon hours, training to defend yourself against somebody else. For the law enforcement officers on the call, firearms, the amount of training that we do, and it's all very, very important training. But how many hours did you spend on wellness, mindfulness, post-traumatic stress, stress response, stress mitigation, anger management, emotional awareness? For most people, you get maybe a class to check a box, right? Yeah, we went there and he talked to us about our feelings and we checked a box. Yet, if I were to show you those numbers from 2019, and I would have said we lost 238 officers to one thing, if that was vehicle stops, if we had lost 238 people to improper searching, there would be tons of training the next year on how to prevent that from happening again. But we don't do it for the internal issues. So I stress more than anything to take care of your people, take care of yourself. One of my favorite quotes in law enforcement and I don't even know who to give it to as credit was, take care of yourself, take care of your people, and the rest will take care of itself. So thank you so much for having us. This has been an absolute honor to be here for everybody. Once again, if there's anything that you need, don't hesitate to reach out and contact myself, contact Brad, contact anybody here with Iowa Cops. We would be happy to help in any way that we can for anybody who needs it. That is what we are here for. I owe a debt and I plan on paying it for the rest of my life. So thank you so very much for having us. Katrina, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions or anything for us? Sounds good. If you don't, feel free to reach out to Iowa Cops. You can go to our website, just iowacops.org, to learn a little bit more about some of our fallen, about some of the events that we do. If you'd like to volunteer and like to get involved, there's a little contact button in that website. You can reach out to us. We'd be happy to have anybody come out at any time and join us, because it is an absolute honor to do this. So thank you so very much, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you both so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate your why. It's very similar to our whys. And some of us have social work backgrounds. Some of us have substance use disorder treatment backgrounds. Some of us law enforcement, corrections. Others of us have lived experience where you might not have been our best friend. But we have overcome many things and view the world differently and behave differently as well. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. And at this time,